Good morning. For this next unit, we're going to be looking at acid rain, and we'll talk about how acid rain forms, so chemically what's going on. We'll talk about some of the effects of acid rain, and again, talk about chemically what's happening when acid rain comes into contact with certain materials. And then what's been done to either make acid rain worse or make it better. So what are some of the things that we can expect from the future as far as this idea of acid rain? In this first picture, what you see here is a forest that's been affected by acid rain. So many things can happen when we talk about vegetation and acid rain. It can affect the plants directly by affecting their tissues or structures, but it can also affect and change the soil. So we can get changes in the soil chemistry or microbes that are in the soil, bacteria and fungi and things like that that help plants and trees might die off, which would affect the vegetation of the forest. And we're going to go into more detail on all of these. This is just a quick, you know, a quick summary of some of the things that are going on when we talk about this topic of acid rain. Okay, so the next image here also shows the effects of acid rain. In this particular case, it's the effects of acid rain on aquatic organisms. And we see some kind of a fish die off here. Now, it's possible that acid rain could affect aquatic organisms directly and actually make it more difficult for them to either get the foods that they need, damage their tissues, but it could also affect them indirectly. So if acid rain kills off plankton or microbes or small things that are at the bottom of the food chain, then things further up the food chain would also get affected. It might make the environment, the conditions of the water such that fish have a very hard time laying eggs and having those eggs hatch because now the environment's different than it should be, making it harder on those particular eggs. Now that's just fish, for example, but everything that's in the water system could be affected by these chemical changes to the water. When we talk about society, so not the living things in our environment, but society as we encounter it day to day, one of the examples that I have here is a building that's been affected by acid rain. So depending on the material that the building is made up of, acid rain could actually cause a chemical reaction between that material and the specific acid rain. And what we see here is that slowly over time, this wall has been eroded and eaten away and kind of worn away. And you can see the pattern there where some areas are more worn than others. But this happens over usually decades, but it affects the structural integrity of the building and how well that building is able to serve its function. Okay, so the last one that I have here is similar to the building, but we see this a lot in older statues and sculptures, again, depending on what the material is and how it's affected by interaction with the chemistry of the acid rain. You can get these statues that slowly get worn away over time and they lose all of their detail, all of the features, especially where the water is streaming down the surface of the statue. And you can see this particular one has lost all of the features that you would see on the face of that particular statue because of this heavy amount of chemical change from acid rain.